Hello and welcome to Friday's calendar.
Coming up tonight. Justice has caught up with Ethan Hallows, who'd fled the country after ordering the killing of a man in Sheffield.
Campaigners in a North Yorkshire coastal town battle with authorities over high taxes on second homes.
2 decades after their debut album, we see the humble beginnings of one of the sounds of Sheffield.
And it's starting to feel like a couple of decades since we saw the sunshine. I promise you there'll be a bit more in the way of sunny spells as we head through into tomorrow. All the detail a little later on.
First tonight, to the mother of war hero Ben Parkinson, who's hit out against Donald Trump's claim that British forces avoided frontline action in Afghanistan.
Ben from Doncaster is the most severely injured British soldier to survive a tour of the country.
His mother has branded the comments from the President of the United States the ultimate insult, while the Prime Minister called them appalling. Tamina Alam has more.
Ben lost his career, he lost his regimental family, he lost his home.
Diane's son Ben put his life and body on the line for his country. A former paratrooper, he returned home from the front line a different man. He lost both his legs after the vehicle he was in was blown up in Afghanistan. His family say for the US president to question the contribution of him and his comrades is disrespectful.
We've always been there, our troops have always been there. We've never been behind the front line. These are ignorant, ill-educated, inappropriate words from someone who should have known better. The tone of Donald Trump's voice, the words that he used, an absolute dismissal of the sacrifice and the effort and the commitment that British and NATO forces put into Afghanistan, an absolute disgrace.
It was a conflict that claimed the lives of 457 British troops. Now the president of the country they fought side by side with has delivered what has been described as a punch in the gut to the families of those who sacrificed.
We've never needed them. We have never really asked anything of them. You know, they'll say they sent some troops to Afghanistan or this or that. And they did. They stayed a little back, a little off the front lines.
Across the pond, the Prime Minister stood firm with Diane.
So I consider President Trump's remarks to be insulting and frankly appalling. And I'm not surprised they've caused such hurt to the loved ones of those who were killed or injured. What I say to Diane is if I had misspoken in that way or said those words, I would certainly apologise, and I'd apologise to her.
MPs on both sides of the political spectrum are today unified on what they think, including Ben Obisi-Jekti, who served as a captain in the Royal Yorkshire Regiment.
I know that personally, from having seen it firsthand, how passionate we should all be about the support for our armed forces. I am very, very saddened to see the US administration taking this stance with us as one of their closest allies, and I think it's something that we should be addressing.
Defence Secretary and Yorkshire MP John Healey was direct in his statement, saying NATO's Article 5 has only been triggered once. The UK and NATO allies answered the US call, and British troops should be remembered for who they were, heroes. Families like Ben Parkinson's may be thousands of miles away from Washington, but say they won't stand by and watch a world leader minimise the sacrifice of those who did and didn't come home. Tamina Alam, ITV News.
In other news tonight, a man has been jailed for 33 years for the murder of a young father who was gunned down in a Sheffield street. He then fled the country with the help of his girlfriend. Well, this was the moment Ethan Hallows was arrested at Manchester Airport after returning from Dubai. A trial heard how he'd ordered a hit on Kevin Pakuta in December 2023, mistakenly identifying Kevin's car as one which thwarted the robbery of a cannabis farm in Sheffield. The shooter, Jake Brown, was jailed in 2024 for 36 years. Hannah's girlfriend, Paris Askew, was also jailed today for 3 years for assisting an offender.
Ethan Hallows ran away to avoid facing the consequences of his actions, fleeing the country with the help of his girlfriend, Paris Askew. I hope Kevin's family find comfort in the fact that 2 more people involved in the murder of their loved one will be spending significant time behind bars.
Thanks for being with us for Friday night's calendar, and still to come on the programme tonight, we chat to the new man in town at Huddersfield ahead of Derby Day.
And 20 years on from one of the most seminal albums in Yorkshire's music history, we look back at where it all began. Well, next tonight, the government wants to describe them as a scourge, but owners of a second home in Filey say the area could become a ghost town if North Yorkshire Council continues to drive them out.
The council's one of hundreds of authorities to have doubled the council tax bill for the properties and says it'll allow first-time buyers to set up home there. But homeowners in Filey claim that when the homes do go up for sale, nobody is buying them. Helen Steele reports.
Second homeowners make up around 20% of Filey's population. But they claim the doubling of council tax rates by North Yorkshire Council is driving them out of town. Claudine Lazenby bought her flat nearly 10 years ago.
We bought this property because myself and my husband, we've both come here since 1970s when we were young children.
Her annual council tax bill went up from £1,600 to £3,200 in April last year.
There are people who will think, oh, people who have second homes, they shouldn't be moaning about anything. What's your response to that?
Why shouldn't we? It is not fair. It is a stealth tax. And I'm not disputing that there might be some wealthy people that own properties, but the vast majority are just ordinary people that have worked really hard, that have saved.
North Yorkshire Council says freeing up second homes could pave the way for permanent residents, especially first-time buyers. At the local estate agents, a flat in Claudine's building is just one of the second homes up for sale.
Yeah, it's also up for rent as well because they have had struggle selling the property. It has been on the market for some time now.
And the point of this, I suppose, the council want first-time buyers to buy them. Has that been happening?
Not for apartments, no. Especially in this building, they have got higher service charges.
With fewer second home owners and nobody buying up those homes, Filey is reliant on tourism.
Well, Filey is well known for its 5-mile stretch of beach, which brings in tourists in their droves in the summer. But what happens on days like today? Well, despite some describing second homeowners as a scourge, for others they become a lifeline in the winter months.
Omar's owned restaurants and cafes here for nearly 20 years.
There's a lot of them that they do come to Filey 6 to 8 months a year, and they do support all the business, including myself now.
But while these homeowners fill the coffers, for some it's the community that suffers.
My 2 sisters live in Filey and they live in a new build houses, and there's only about 6 permanent people that live there. So yeah, and I think that's really sad.
The council also says it has 9,000 people on the social housing waiting list. £435,000 raised by the tax premium has already gone towards 15 new homes in Hunmanby. Sam Cross represents Filey on North Yorkshire Council.
The simple answer to that is that they're building actually in Skipton and they're building in a village far away. People, if you're from Filey, want to live in Filey.
And did North Yorkshire Council look into this enough before they made the decision?
No, they just went into it and made an incorrect decision, and they've not done a proper impact assessment.
There are those who think young people are being locked out of the housing market. But second homeowners say there's also little to keep them here either. Helen Steele, ITV News in Filey.
It's certainly an issue that gets people talking. Well, time for some sport now, and Chris is here with news of plenty of what's going on both on and off the pitch.
Yeah, lots happening, Emma, so let's get cracking, shall we? Tonight we hear from the new manager of Huddersfield Town, whilst Leeds United are trying to land a new striker.
Powering local sport in the community. Octopus Energy sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
Now, Leeds United aren't in action until Monday night when they travel to Everton, but they're clearly busy behind the scenes. We understand Leeds have had a bid rejected for this man, Jørgen Strand Larsen. Now, he's a Norwegian international, scored 14 times in the Premier League last season. He struggled for goals this term somewhat in a poor Wolves team, but he's still valued by his club at around £40 million, which, if Leeds can match, would break their transfer record. One to keep an eye on as we tick down to the transfer deadline a week on Monday. Now, one new face definitely arrived in West Yorkshire is Liam Manning. He was appointed the new Huddersfield Town manager on Tuesday. Today he's been introduced at a press conference. Arif Ahmed was there for us and afterwards caught up with the new Terriers' top dog.
Yes, the first press conference of Liam Manning here as the new head coach of Huddersfield Town has just come to an end. I'm pleased to say he joins me now. Liam, pleased to meet you. What is it that attracted you to the job here at Huddersfield?
Numerous aspects. I think when I look at the playing group, really excited to work with them. I think in terms of the potential and the things I think they can achieve. So definitely the lads that are in the group, and then I think beyond that the club. I think when I look at the ambition, I think the size of it, the fan base, the infrastructure, the facilities. There's so many positive things that for me, and I've had a lot of people say it to me, the club's ready to go.
And you've had a few months out of work. Has that given you time to rest, reflect, and reset before coming back in?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's hugely important. I think no secret I had a tough time at Norwich, but I think it's what I've done previously and what I think is equally important is how you respond. And my default's always been to question myself, to challenge myself in terms of what I need to do better, and then respond. And like I said, I've had to scrap and fight to get to this place in my career, and I'll continue to do that. And like I said, I'm delighted to be here.
And you've had a few days training with the squad. What's your assessment of the team?
Yeah, energy naturally. I think when you come in, everybody's keen to prove a point, and the lads been great. I think in terms of what we've asked them to do, the energy, the intensity, the competitiveness. It's been a really strong week, and obviously looking forward to tomorrow.
What should fans expect a Liam Manning side to look like?
So we have to show the right fight, the right energy, the right intensity. Those behaviours have to be consistent every single week. Yeah. And then after that, obviously, then we'll be looking for some quality. But I think it will always start with that, with the group.
And there's no better way to start than beating the club's West Yorkshire rivals in Bradford here tomorrow afternoon.
Can't wait. Looking forward to it. They're the games you want to be involved in. And so it's the players. They should be desperate to get out there and go and give hopefully a full house, something to cheer about. So again, can't wait for tomorrow.
Thanks, Liam. Thanks for joining us. Good luck to you. Well, the Liam Manning era gets underway tomorrow afternoon.
Certainly does. Talks a good game, doesn't he? Best of luck to Liam at Huddersfield. Well, as you just heard from Arif there, Manning's first game in charge is a West Yorkshire derby tomorrow lunchtime. Town welcome a Bradford City team who've really taken to life back in League One. Despite last week's defeat at top of the table Cardiff, the Bantams are third in the table and well on course for a promotion push in the second half of the season. And manager Graham Alexander says it doesn't matter who's in the opposition dugout tomorrow. His plans for the game itself haven't changed a bit.
When the whistle goes, the only focus will be the actual game on the grass. I think the managers, the benches, it's a sideshow, to be honest. I think the most important thing is the game of football in front of us. So I think everyone's looking forward to it. I know my players are, I know my staff are, I know the fans are. So we'll see what we can do.
Should be a good game. Elsewhere this weekend, Barry Bannon is expected to make his 477th and final appearance for Sheffield Wednesday. The Owls legend appeared to be waving farewell to the fans after Tuesday night's game against Birmingham, and reports suggest tomorrow's match at Bristol City could be his last for the club, with Millwall a likely destination. And finally from me, the countdown is on for one young man from Batley who'll be representing Team GB at the Winter Olympics next month. Leon Greenwood has been selected as part of the four-man bobsleigh team that'll go for gold in Milan and Cortina. Now, Leon, who went to Spen Valley High School, turned to bobsleigh after injury scuppered his ambitions of becoming an Olympic sprinter.
It means more to my family than it does to me. Like this, the sacrifice that they've made for me to do this. Like, I talk about sacrifice, like I choose to do this. So sacrifice is sacrifice, but my family, I couldn't do this without them. So yeah, it means a lot, man. It means a lot. I've got a little daughter, she's 2 years old, and for her to see that her daddy's going to be an Olympian, it feels good.
Yeah, great story that, isn't it?
Amazing. What I'd love to know, though, is when you're looking at the list of sports to do, if you're moving on from sprinting, how you end up at bobsleigh.
Well, exactly, especially when you live in Batley.
Yeah,
I can't imagine there's many luges around, is there, in West Yorkshire? But you're right, yeah, but I think sprinting lends itself to bobsleigh, doesn't it? Because you've got to run fast to then jump onto the bobsleigh.
Yeah, I suppose.
So, and he's got big upper body strength. You saw him lifting those weights as well, so maybe that's what they identified in Leon. And it's certainly paid off, hasn't it?
I mean, it's fun to watch as well.
He's off to the Olympics,
Yeah,
it certainly is.
I know, it'd be brilliant. Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chris. Now, the popularity of drones has increased significantly in recent years, hasn't it? It's estimated around 1 million people in the UK now actually own one.
Yes, rules on flying them have been tightened, though, and the need to register details with the Civil Aviation Authority has been extended to lighter drones flown by more people.
So what are the rules and why do they exist? James Webster has been finding out.
Spectacular views of landscapes from high in the sky. Capturing images like these is why many people buy a drone. And with so many now in use, the Civil Aviation Authority has extended the requirements for registering as a drone pilot.
We were conscious that a lot of people now are using smaller drones because they're way more capable and can do fantastic things, but obviously they still need the education. So the Flyer ID test teaches people how to fly safely, where they can fly, heights they can fly, keeping clear of airfields and restricted airspace, but also we hope and we think will lead to them enjoying their drone more.
Anyone flying a drone that weighs more than 100 grams must get a Flyer ID. The threshold for that used to be 250 grams. To get an ID, they need to pass a free online theory test to check they understand safety rules. New drone users also need to register for an operator ID, and if it's a child flying the drone, that operator must be an adult. Paul Morton from Norfolk Park in Sheffield uses his drone for photography.
It is an extra barrier, but it's a relatively light barrier. The test itself is free, it's straightforward, so for committed hobbyists, it's not a major obstacle. But lowering the weight limit means many people who previously flew now need to get a Flyer ID.
The changes are designed to protect other aircraft. Aviation consultant Chris Davies says the consequences of drones going where they shouldn't can be serious.
Near-miss incidents do still occur in the vicinity of major airports around the UK, whether it's Manchester, Liverpool, Gatwick, Heathrow, or indeed even at Leeds Bradford, where only last July a Boeing 737 was on short finals to land when they noticed a drone flying within the perimeter of the airfield. They did have an uneventful landing, but its proximity such as that represents a significant concern.
Although the new rules can be enforced by police if necessary, the Civil Aviation Authority hopes drone pilots will see why they are so necessary. James Webster, ITV News.
Well, staying in the sky, but going from drones to birds, and it's been a very good year for songbirds this year, enjoying a highly successful nesting season. It means those taking part in the RSPB's Big Garden Birdwatch this weekend have got a good chance of spotting some of our favourite feathered friends. Conservationists say the last year has been encouraging for bird populations.
So the summer of 2025 was warm and dry, and that's really good news for young birds leaving the nest. However, these warm, dry summers, if they persist over time, they can be quite bad for insect populations. And if the numbers of insects reduce, then the birds have less food, and in the longer term, that might cause population declines in the birds themselves.
Well, dozens of bird watchers have been patiently waiting on the canal bank at Brighouse, hoping to catch a rare glimpse of a kingfisher. Well, thanks to John Weirden for sending in this video from the Calder and Hebble Navigation. The bird has been delighting twitchers down at Cromwell Bottom Nature Reserve all week. Wow, look at those pictures.
I know, they're beautiful, aren't they? They should head down though to North Nottinghamshire because the River Idle is where I saw a kingfisher once.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
wow.
It was beautiful. Have you ever seen one?
I saw one in the centre of Hillsborough.
You see, they get everywhere.
Keeping it real. And Philip saw this one yesterday in Maltby. So they are around, but they're just so tiny. They're a lot smaller than you think, aren't they, when you see them on the telly? And they're really tiny. So yeah, the bird watch, it's one thing we can do this weekend. The weather is looking so much better tomorrow than it has been over the last few days. And you only need to spend an hour for the garden bird watching. You have to sit in your garden or on your balcony or anything with a cup of tea. And it's free because apparently it's the skintiest weekend before, of course, we all get paid. If you don't want to bird watch in the garden, you could could go a little bit further afield. This, of course, is a Starling Murmuration. It's Fairburn Ings in Castleford. A big thank you to Colby and Sean, who were there on separate occasions. Sunset, the best time, and of course, December and January, the best time to see them because you've got the migrant birds as well as the locals. And this was North Cave Wetlands in East Yorkshire. A big thank you to Sally Johnson for the video. Very calming. I've never seen them, but very calming. Not so calm was out towards the coast today, and some very strong and gusty winds for the likes of Filey, as we've seen earlier in the programme. Scarborough and Bridlington here. A big thank you to Sue Tanner for the video. And we've had lots of rain as well as all of that low cloud, and it's actually topping up the totals for January so far. South Yorkshire has been our wettest at 99%, so as much as we'd expect for the whole month, and we've got another week to go. But also parts of North Yorkshire have had a lot of rain, but of course you'd expect certainly over the Pennines a bit more rain than other parts of the region. Still loads of questions, you two, about snow next week and the cold. It is turning a little bit colder. We've got low pressure in charge. It's keeping itself to the southwest. But as we head towards Monday and into Tuesday and Wednesday, we've got a battleground between basically the west and the east. And I think it will be a tad colder. We might see some hill snow. That's not really out of the ordinary for this time of the year. But I do think significantly will more likely be a story for rain as we head into next week. It's still looking quite unsettled. But for the weekend, not too bad. And of course, your forecast coming up. Brill. Thank you very much.
See you in a second. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, finally tonight, Sheffield band The Arctic Monkeys has released its first album in 4 years, working alongside Pulp, with proceeds going to youth protection charity War Child.
Can you believe today marks 20 years since the release of the Arctic Monkeys' first album, which featured iconic tracks such as Mardy Bum and I Bet That You Look Good on the Dance Floor?
Well, 2 decades later, it still sits on the album charts, and our reporter Sam Eyre has been back to where the rise to fame all began.
It's a generation-defining sound. The Arctic Monkeys, whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not, mark the start of a new era for Sheffield music with its raw sound and its gritty videos to boot. Producer Alan Smythe has brought us back to where it all began.
Nice to meet you.
Where are we?
We are at Stagworks in Sheffield, and this is the home of Two Fly Studios.
This rather unassuming shed was where the original demos for the album were recorded, and Alan hasn't been back to his old studio in more than 15 years.
Well, it's more or less the same. It's a fantastic. It's not really changed that much.
So in terms of what was the setup back then, you know, where were they stood when they were recording those demos, and where were you?
Well, I don't know. I think I probably I did build this stage bit. I built that corner bit. That's basically a vocal booth.
Yeah.
So that was my vocal booth. And this in here, this is nicer than it was. This is much nicer than it was, but it is more or less identical.
So when you were sitting in here and they were out there playing, did you ever expect what you were doing to become what it became?
No, but yes, because the moment that we did the first recordings and Alex started singing, which was in the booth in there, when he started singing, it felt very obvious to me that there was something kind of magical going on here. Jim Abyss, who became the producer for the album, or the main part of it, he came several times to see how we'd done it here, because they couldn't better it. They couldn't give it, the energy of the first recordings is astounding.
Once they were happy with how the album sounded, copies began to land on shelves on the 23rd of January 2006, and as per this contemporary calendar report, they didn't stay on the shelves for very long.
They've outsold Hearsay and the Beatles, with their first record racing to the top of the album chart, with at its peak 5,000 copies being sold an hour.
And it's still as popular as ever at this city centre record shop. So much so that when we arrived, they'd already sold out.
The Arctic Monkeys is still massive, and the album's still really popular today. Every time we get it, we sell out straight away, pretty much. Especially the tourists who are around Sheffield, they're always looking for some Arctic Monkeys stuff.
Meanwhile, back at Stagworks, a new band are forming their distinctive sound. They're called Penumbra, and despite the fact that most of them were in nappies when the Arctic Monkeys were here, they see them as a huge inspiration.
Arctic Monkeys are like the ceiling, like they are the band you will base yourself off, whether you sound like them in particular or not, just like what they've done, like coming through the grassroots venues, and obviously the biggest British band of the last 25 years. So if we can be anything like them, then it'd be bang on.
It's so important to have all those new local bands. And there's so much great stuff in Sheffield at the moment, so many great venues that are putting great bands on. It's so important to keep live music alive.
20 years on from the album that defined a generation, the Arctic Monkeys are continuing to inspire the next. Sam Eyre, ITV News in Sheffield.
20 years ago, can't believe it.
I know, it takes me back to my uni days. I used to dance to a lot of those songs, but I can tell you, I bet I didn't look so good on the dance floor.
I refuse to believe it, Emma. I bet you look great on the dance floor.
Well, I'm sure one person who did look good on the dance floor is Kerry. Here she is with the weather.
Today's forecast: seafood and sugar cube towns. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Yes, a few more bits of blue in the skies above as we head through into the weekend. Good job, really. It's been fairly gloomy over the past few days. A lot of cloud, a damp feel to things. Not especially warm with that strong winds. For Saturday, drier and brighter conditions. For Sunday, there will be a bit more cloud around, especially in the west. And here, yes, over the Pennines, a risk of some rain. This has been the story so far today. We did have a brief drier and slightly brighter window this morning, but cloud and outbreaks of rain nudging northwards. This main low pressure system, though, is staying to the west, and it will allow, as we head deeper into tonight, for the skies to clear. So some clearer spells as we head towards dawn. We are expecting temperatures to be in the low single figures, just about frost free. We've still got that fairly strong southeasterly flow, although the winds will become a little lighter, and we've still got some nagging cloud over higher ground as well as we head into the early part of tomorrow. 8:06 and 4:32 are your sun times for tomorrow. For Saturday, it's mostly dry. Again, quite gloomy, at least to start the day, over the tops of the Pennines and the Peak District. But elsewhere, it's a brighter day compared to the last couple of days, so a bit more in the way of sunshine. There's still that southeasterly breeze and temperatures still around near normal, 7 or 8 Celsius. As we head through into Sunday, we've got this front spiralling sort of the Pennines first thing on Sunday. Again, the best of the brightness probably out towards the coast, but we start to get that easterly. It starts to feel a little bit colder, and as we head through into the beginning of next week, winter hazards return and it will stay unsettled but colder.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
There you go, at least for a couple of days, no weather warnings, quieter, a little bit brighter.
Yeah, perfect time to get out and watch those birds.
Yes.
Definitely, I'll be doing that this weekend.
Yeah, me
Definitely.
too.
And you're back later?
I am at
Yeah.
10:30. Charlene White is next. See you then.
Have a great weekend. Good night.
Bye.